All right, now let's talk about geometric series, where we want to add up all the terms. Remember, the sum of a geometric sequence is called the geometric series. We actually have two formulas to find the sum, depending on what information we're given. We have, the first equation is Sn equals a1 times 1 minus r to the n power over 1 minus r. So in this equation, we need a1, we need r, and we need n. Okay, to find Sn, sometimes if we have Sn, we can solve for something else, right? The second equation is Sn equals a1 minus an times r to the 1 minus r. So if we know the last term instead of how many terms, we want to use this one. So this equation has Sn, a1, an, I don't mean to write that minus, an, and r. So really the big difference is, do I know n or do I know the last term? Do I know the number of terms? Or do I know the last term or a term? That's not the first one. Okay, so those are our two formulas. So here we are. Let's write those down so we have them on this slide. An, oops, not an, Asn. Sn equals a1, 1 minus r to the n over 1 minus r. And my second formula, Sn, a1 minus an times r over 1 minus r. So my first problem, find the sum of the series for which a1 is 7,776, an is 6, and r is -1/8. So if I know an, I'm going to use my formula that has an in it. So I plug in the sum for n terms. I don't know how many terms there are, but I know what that last term is. 7,776 minus 6 times -1/8 divided by 1 minus -1/8. I'll do a little bit of work in the calculator. This is, I'm going to move it down here so we can see the work. -6 times -1/8 is positive 6/8, which is 3/4. So 7,776 plus 3/4 is 7,776 and 3/4, divided by 1 minus -1/8. So that's 7,776 and 3/4 over 1 and 1/8. Now we need mixed numbers to do these, unless we're using a calculator. So, and I even have to get a calculator to get this mixed number. 4 times 7,776. Remember, we do the denominator times the whole number, and then we add the numerator. So I have 31,107 over 4. And then 8, 1, and 1/8 is 9/8. So divide fractions, we times by the reciprocal, 8/9. 4 goes into 8 2 times. Let's see if 31,107 divided by 9 is a whole number. It is not. So I get 31,107 times 2 over 9. So that's 62,214 over 9. Can I divide that by 3? I can reduce that a little bit to 2,738 thirds. And that's about 6,912.67. But we really like the the fraction answer. Okay, now take a second. Let's do this problem before you watch me do it. You're doing it on your own. Find the sum of the series for which a1 is 2, an is 486, and r is 3. This one's not going to have as many fractions in it because r is a whole number. Okay, you should be doing this on your own and pausing the video. Okay, now that you're done, the sum, okay, we have an, so again, we're going to use the same formula I did on the previous example. The sum of n terms is equal to a1, 2, minus 486 an times r over 1 minus r, 1 minus 2. So that's 2 minus 1458, oops, divided by negative 1. So that's negative 1456 divided by negative 1 is positive 1456. Okay. Now this next one, find the sum of the series for which A1 is 4, n is 6, and r is negative 3. So since I know n, I want to use the other formula, right? The A1, let's erase this for a second so we have some space to plug it in. I'm going to use the A1, 4 times 1 minus r, which is negative 3 to the 6th power, divided by 1 minus r, which is negative 3. Remember, we have to do the order of operations. That negative 3 is raising to the 6th power before we subtract. So negative 3 to the 6th is 729. So 4 times 1 minus 729. Negatives to an even power is positive, so it stays minus. Over 1 minus negative becomes plus, so over 4. Well, now my 4's are going to cancel here, so I get negative 728, 1 minus 729. Okay, find the sum of the series for which A1 is 5, n is 14, and r is 2. Pause the video, plug it into the equation, evaluate it. You should be done with the problem before you watch me do this. So the sum is A1, 5, times 1 minus r, which is 2, to the n 14th power, over 1 minus 2. And 2 to the 14th, not one I know off the top of my head, is 16,384. So 1 minus 16,384 over 1 minus 2. 5 times negative 16,383 times 5, and that's negative 81,915 divided by negative 1, 81,915 is the sum. So we have summation notation. We can use either equation, the sum of n terms, A1, 1 minus r to the n over 1 minus r, or Sn is A1 minus An times r to the 1 minus r. If I want to find An, I plug in the number on top. To find A1, I plug in the number on the bottom. I can also, I need n for this formula, so 1 to 6 would be 6 terms. So just like we did 6 minus 1 plus 1 to find the number of terms n, we would use that same idea. So if I plug in 1 to find A1, it's always a good idea just to plug it in to make sure. This is usually in the form A1 times r to the n minus 1, but just in case it's not, plug in the 1 on the bottom, and you get 2 times 1/3 to the 0. Anything to the 0 power is 1, so the A1 is 2. 6 minus 1 plus 1 is 6, so that's n, the number of terms. And my r, here is my r. R is 1/3. So we plug it in. 2 times 1 minus 1/3 to the 6th over 1 minus 1/3. That's 2 times 1 minus 1 over 729 over 2/3. 1 minus 1/3 is 2/3. 1 minus 1 over 729 is 728 over 729 divided by 2/3. To divide fractions, we're going to multiply by the reciprocal. So this becomes 2 times 728 over 729. I'm going to leave it as 2 because when I multiply by the reciprocal, 3 over 2, now I can see some of my numbers canceling. The 2, I'm going to multiply by 2, then I'm going to divide by 2, so those cancel. 3 goes into 729, 243 times. It's a multiple of 3, so I end up with 728 over 243, and that's my final answer. Let's look at the next one. Try this one. What is your A1? What is your N? What is your R? Identify those. It looks like it's in the A1 n minus 1 form, or R to the n minus 1 form. So 3 times 2 to the 1 minus 1 is 3 times 1, because 2 to the 0 was 1. So 3 is my A1. My R is the number that it has the exponent on it, so R is 2. And from 1 to 12 is 12 terms. So we end up with 3 times 1 minus R to the n power over 1 minus R. So 2 to the 12th, it's 3 times 1 minus 40, 96, over negative 1. 3 times negative 40, 95. Is negative 12,285 divided by negative 1 is 12,285